Hello and what is up YouTube? Today I'm playing Last Epoch, and in Last Epoch of course I've made a lightning build as well, because I am just a lightning fanatic and I will always create lightning builds. So let's get into the build without any further ado. Let's get into the skills, because this is kind of an early game build. I haven't played this game that much yet. I'm level 39, which means I've cleared a little bit of the early game, and I can actually tell you a little bit about which of the three things I've chosen and what has worked for me to create a pretty well-rounded lightning build, which is clearing all of the stuff quite well. For the first spell you're gonna take Lightning Blast. This is your main bread and butter skill, and this will do a lot of your damage, and it's just your main right-click skill. If you have a wand, it will also cost 0 mana, which is great. You can just spam this all the time and it actually does quite some damage. So the one you want to get first is that it actually arcs to additional enemies. This one, I'm not sure if this actually does a lot. I think it actually does arc to you and then towards enemies, and it can do extra damage, but I'm not too keen about this. If you're playing with other friends, I think this is more effective, but I'm not too sure this is actually necessary, so you don't need to put a point into this one. Then I'm also a little bit unsure about front loaded. It's extra damage for the first hit. It can be nice, but you can also choose to do it through this route. But these are very important that you do get. So max arcing power, that's definitely a must, and also max overcharge and hypercharge, because this is just going to add a lot of damage. Not only critical multiplier, which means your crits are just going to do a lot more damage. You have a 24% chance to double cast, which is just like double damage, and a 25% chance to quadruple cast, which is basically double damage, because 1 in 4 chance to do 4 times as much damage. Double damage. There you go. That's very good. And later on, if you got even more points in this, I would try to get lightning ages just for an increased lightning chance. Maybe just put 1 point in there. And also being able to cast chain it multiple times is a bit of a iffy thing, because you don't want it to be too much mana cost, because if it's too much mana cost you're gonna have mana problems, but you can figure that out a little bit with some other things as well. Those are the main things I've spec'd into. Maybe even casting speed is something you could spec into a little bit more, and also dealing more damage to chill the shocked enemies, because most enemies are going to be shocked anyway, so a 36% damage increase will be quite nice. I don't deal with any ice stuff, so I don't even look at that. Then for our next spell, this is going to be your big shotgun, your bazooka, and that is static, and it's going to do a lot of damage. I mean, here it's already 8,000 damage per second, just because it has an insane amount of burst. The first thing I picked up was, I believe it was going to the right and getting more charges when hit to 3. So I also get zap and then unlimited power. Yes, you can be the guy from Star Wars that says the unlimited power thing. Basically, with this, you would also cast your lightning blast when your zap is above, I think like 80 charges. Then you will also get the lightning blast from it. It will just cast it randomly, pulsing from time to time, which is great. And it only costs like 5 plus, I think, the amount of mana that the lightning strike costs, the lightning blast cost, but that is 0, so it doesn't really cost that much mana anyway. So I think not mana, it costs charges, and also you cost the mana, but it's very negligible, so you don't have to worry about that too much. Then for the next thing I went into was more charge rate, so I get it back faster, which is a little bit unnecessary now that I got a good idol for it, but I would definitely advise getting a little bit charge rate in there, or maybe putting all 4 points in there. Don't put in this one though. You're gonna be moving around a lot, but I don't think this one is too good. Maximum charges is something that is good. It only will not increase the damage, but the other things I'm going to go for later on, which is critical multipliers and maybe even range, but nah, you're going to be standing close to them anyway. And just extra charges for crit. Those are some pretty good things you can get in there. Maybe get a damage increase, but the damage isn't really that important for it. It's getting a lot of charges and also doing good. And because you'll be getting this quite a lot because you're moving around a lot, you can just cast this from time to time, just do a massive crit to enemies. Then for the static orb, this is your kind of like your burst spell. Does a lot of damage, and it also CCs enemies a little bit by pulling them into him. So for the road you want to take, you want to get Forking Surge and then Open Circuit. This is just going to give you speed and damage. And then I went from Fusion Blast to Atomic Manipulation just to get some mana back. This does cost 35 mana. If you see I have 130 mana, this means that I could cast it like 4 times and I'm done. Which means with this one I get like 1 and 4 free, which means I can now cast 5 of them. And I will put in a little bit more points into this so I can get a little bit more mana back. I think maybe 2 points in this will be quite well, because then it just cuts the mana cost into half. Then this one will give you damage ramp up, but reduces project speed. But well, if you have 40% increased projectile speed, then this doesn't really matter as much. It's just 90% damage ramp, which is quite nice. It hits quite hard as well. And I wanted to get a little bit of the scatter orbs, and I wanted to try out a little bit of the what's gonna happen if I do Storm Burst, which is gonna be automatic explosion after 4 meters. How that's gonna scale with the volatile outburst, and also how that's gonna scale if I then put a pointy to ball lightning, because then it will not have a chance not to explode. But here it says 90%. Here it just says explodes after 4 meters. So not sure how those two work in unison, but I'll figure that out later. But for now, this is important to get. This is a little bit less important, especially if you have this one on there. You don't really need it that much, but it's just more chains with your chain lightning. If you do choose to go to the single target route, there's a single target route where you can only hit 1 target with your chain lightnings, then I would say this becomes more and more important, because then it's just more single target damage, and this will be more of your AoE bread and butter skill. So that's the kind of the choice you need to make in your build. But for now, in these points, you're not going to get all of that at the same time. So I would just stick to what I'm doing right here. Then for teleport, this one is the best ones. The one you would just want to put 4 points in. Just when you get it, you will get 20% recovery speed, which means your cooldown will be 4 seconds instead of 5. Great improvement. And then the second one would be getting your elemental affinity, which is 50% increased elemental damage, which is great, more damage. And then the next thing I'm going to go towards is getting the stat buff duration increase, which not only will increase the haste, which you can get 4 seconds of haste, but also your elemental damage, which you can get 4 seconds, 100% increase, which is 8 seconds. Well, it's already at a 4-second cooldown, so you could technically have it permanently up, but now with like 8 seconds, it is very possible to just keep permanent 50% damage up, which is nice as a good buff. And for the other points, I would probably get like ward maybe in there, so you could get some ward increase and ward retention. Then you'd maybe be able to switch out the flame ward for something else, because right now the flame ward is kind of a defensive skills, but you could say maybe arcane transcendence. If your teleport already has a lot of survivability on there as well, then arcane transcendence is something you could pick, and then you can actually put that on there and deal a lot of extra damage while you're in your arcane transcendence form, and then you have like a little bit of a burst time. You can do that, but it does take a little bit of mana management to go there. But for now, it's definitely going to be the flame ward, just to upgrade that as well. What if you're already level 50, you want to see what kind of upgrades I would do for the flame ward? Well, then you're in bad luck, because I haven't checked that out at all yet. I would probably get some extra defense in there, just spec all the way into defense. I don't really care about any of the damage on it. I don't see any lightning stuff, so I would say just do as much of the defensive nodes as you can get on there, so you can really get this as a big defense buff, which is what it's supposed to be. As for your items, I basically have some random ass items, but some things that you do want to look out for. This idol, that's quite nice, because you gain 4 static charges per second. Here it's out and it's just gaining just like that, and if you're walking around, this is gaining like crazy. You just have to walk around for like 10 seconds and you have max charges again. I mean, this is how long it took for me to get 100 charges, and you see the damage is slowly scaling up. We're very good idol, because the idols at the beginning are not that good. So if you can get this, I think I recently got it somewhere from around this area, so hopefully you will get it too. And yeah, put it in your build because it's a very nice idol. Then yeah, I do have this helmet, which it does give a lot of critical strike chance, but I don't think it's necessary for the build. You just want to focus on getting your a wand is very good. The usual mage builds say that a staff is better, but I really like the wand just because of the decreased mana cost, and also most of the time I'm dealing more damage with, or I have more DPS when I have the wand plus the skill combo, because this scales of intelligence, and your skill can have increased lightning damage, increased attack speed, and just the plus 3% critical strike chance, because right now I have a 50% increased, or 50% just critical strike chance on spells. That's insane. Of course, this helmet is doing a big job of that, and without it you would have a 25% chance, but still, for how much points I have, this is still pretty good. So yeah, for your items, movement speed on your boots, you want to find as much of the intelligence on your equipment that you can find intelligence on, and for the rest, cast speed and just lightning damage, critical strike damage is just very high priority, so get that on as well. Then I think you can also get some shock on hit and critical strike chance increase, and maybe some lightning damage from there, so put those in your idol build as well. I really haven't delved into that much, so if you have something that is better, please do notify me, because I will then yeah, try that out as well. Then for your passive points, I played around with this a little bit. At the beginning I also had Arcane Current, but now later on that isn't really applicable anymore. So I would say you can do this at the beginning. It is some quite nice extra damage, but I just went full Elementalist, so get that 56% damage. I put in 1 point here, but you don't need to put in 1 point here. I probably will take these points out for... It's just a little bit of a shield, but I don't think it's that big of a shield anyway. 450, so you get 45 ward. Meh, it's like a 10% ward. Yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. So you can take these points out and put them in the crit chance. That's what I would do now, because I'm gonna respec this soon. And then for this one, it is quite nice to get some extra attack speed, and also cooldown recovery for your teleport, which is another, which is gonna put it on like 3.8 seconds instead of the 4.21 or 4.1 second or whatever it can be. So that's nice to get a like extra half second off of your teleport. Furthermore, knowledge of destruction, just critical strike chance, and critical multiplier, just extra damage, very good. And that's it what I do for the mage. Then I continue on for the sorcerer. I do have full arcane momentum and also essence of celerity, just not full celerity, but this the movement speed for 10% is also pretty good. I like movement speed. I like that I get like 60% spell damage, and the duration is also quite nice. So you can just spam your lightning blast quite quickly with all of this going on. And then I just put in the points here, just get some extra critical strike chance per intelligence that I have, which is like 60, or I have 20 intelligence, which is 60% increased critical strike chance. That's pretty good. Then full lightning, these two, just get them full. Then for the critical strike chance, get that full as well. Critical strike multiplier, you want to get that full. And for the other ones, Spark Nova, you can maybe put in 1 point. You can maybe get away with that to just get some extra damage in there. But I don't know. Spark Nova has been a little bit lackluster. I got it in the lightning strike as well. There's lightning blast. I picked Spark Nova, but I didn't really notice a lot of damage of this. And the taking 1 second for it to explode. Most enemies you kill within 1 second anyway. So I don't know. It didn't feel that impactful. So I'm a bit iffy on getting that for the points here. But you're gonna put in the points here anyway, so you can play around with it a little bit to see if it goes. Spell damage is very good, cooldown reduction is very good, and the elementalist stuff is a bit iffy because you're only using, or in this build you only use lightning damage. So I would say maybe get like arcane current and archmage as well. If you get 200 mana, then this is definitely good for your points. Okay, I think that was it. I talked a lot. I think we're already 20 minutes in or something, so I think that's it for the early game build. I will put in some gameplay afterwards of me just clearing some random stuff, so you have a little bit of an image of how this build actually works. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks everyone for watching. Not as many people like the transition from my Diablo 4 to the last Epoch, but I've been having a blast. So check in when I'm streaming and have a nice day. No chest. Oof.
I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I cannot do that.
I cannot do that. Why? Cannot you do that? Perfect English. Oh. Well, at least I'm clearing these enemies. They're very easy. Might be a bit over level for this, but you know, at least it's a good showcase of how well this build clears stuff.